everybody. So we're going to do the reading Water, Hot and Cold today. When things get hot, something interesting happens. They get bigger. Usually you can't see that the hot material is bigger. The change is small. But one place you can see that hot material is bigger is in the bulb thermometer. A bulb thermometer is a small container of liquid attached to a thin tube. The small container is the bulb. The thin tube is the stem. When the bulb gets hot, the liquid expands or gets larger. Liquid pushes farther up the stem. When the bulb gets cold, the liquid contracts or gets smaller. Liquid pulls back into the bulb. Sorry. How does this happen? It happens at a level that is invisible to our eyes. This is what scientists have figured out. Water is made of tiny particles that are much too tiny to see. The particles are moving around all the time. They move faster when the water is hot and slower when the water is cold. Think about a pan of water. All the water particles bang into one another all the time. That keeps a little space between the particles. When the water is hot, the particles bang into one another harder. Harder banging pushes the particles a little farther apart. When the particles are farther apart, the volume of water in the pan increases. Increased volume is expansion. And how can you explain what happens to the liquid in a bulb thermometer? Float and sink. Imagine that you have sunflower seeds for a snack and that they spill. The seeds fall onto gravel where they're hard to see. How could you separate this mixture of seeds and gravel? Just scoop up the seeds and gravel and drop them into a bowl of water. The pieces of rock or gravel will sink. The sunflower seeds will float. Why do the seeds float and the bits of rock sink? Some might say it is because rocks are heavier than sunflower seeds, but that wouldn't be true. Think about this. A piece of gravel on one side of a balance and a seed on the other side have the same mass. Each has a mass of exactly 0.1 grams. If we drop these two objects into water, the seed will still float and the rock will still sink. Why? Because the volumes are different. The two objects have the same mass, but the mass is more concentrated in the piece of rock. The rock is more dense than the seed. Density is the amount of mass compared to the volume. Imagine that we can scrunch both objects into perfect spheres. Alright, remember a sphere is another word for a circle. The mass will still be the same, but now we can compare the volumes. The rock has the same mass as the sunflower seed, but in a smaller volume, so the rock is more dense. But why does the rock sink and the seed float? Look at the same mass of water. Compare the rock and sunflower seed spheres to an equal mass of water. The volume of the water is larger than the volume of the rock, but smaller than the volume of the sunflower seed. The rock is more dense than the water. I'm sorry, girls. And guys, everybody, I just don't know why I'm yawning. The sunflower seed is less dense than the water, so it floats. Water density. Why does warm water form a layer on top of room temperature water? Water particles move faster when water gets hot. Particles push one another farther apart. The water expands. When water expands, the mass stays the same, but the volume increases. What happens to the density? Look at the glass of layered water. Which is the hot water? Which is the cold water? How do you know?